The Maestro.
I know that.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
The Maestro.
The Maestro. Durty.
Come on, y'all.
Really? I think that would be cool though. Why? The Maestro.
Shorts. Oh.
Let it go.
How about you hold it?
There's a lady in the waiting room. She got a
Hello, and thank you to this down version of Dirty Shorts. I'll just say it that way. It won't be the typical Dirty Shorts. Thank you for listening. Appreciate all the feedback, of course. And, of course, I always want more. But this is a short that's going to be a little bit different than the others. We lost Bobby Knight today. Bobby Knight is one of the reasons that we have modern basketball. And I know his name is not brought up enough. When we did a coaches thread a little bit back, and I was talking about different coaches that have helped shape the game, I think his name was mentioned in the thread maybe 3 times out of 80 something posts or something like that. And I get that it's at this point, it's what, 2 generations ago in terms of him coaching, even though people know his legacy, know his history, know his story, the tantrums, the way he treated people, the way he acted, and where that stuff comes from. We're not going to get into any of that. Also not going to get into his legacy as a coach, because you guys can internet machine that all day long. I don't want to waste your time with that stuff that you can get. I always try to give you something a little on the side, something you're not finding in the mainstream. You know, my Maestro likes to handle it. And I only met him 3 times. I don't have any cool stories. Sorry about that. The first time he was actually recruiting 2 players from my high school team, and he actually came himself. No assistant, nobody helping him. He came himself. Typical Bobby Knight. He's standing up in the stands wearing that red Indiana sweater. No clipboard, no nothing, just watching the game. Afterwards, he came down and spoke to a lot of us. And he looked at me and he goes, "You're the guy who plays baseball too, right?" So yes, sir. He says, "Good." So that was the one of 2 interactions I had with him. Like I said, I only met him 3 times. Another time was in a basketball camp. He was actually working with the coaches more so than the players, but he would always come over and talk with the players. You know, give me some pointers on he liked my footwork, and he liked the fact that I didn't mind, even in camps, I didn't mind stepping in and taking charges. And he just kind of gave me a comment of he gave me a slap on the shoulder and says, you know, just be smart about your body, kid. You know, like the attitude, just be smart about your body. And that's pretty much all I got. Again, as you all know, I've said this a lot. I was never a top recruit. I was never a top player, but I was blessed enough to be around a lot of really good players. And the third time was actually it wasn't even a true interaction like that. It was at an event celebrating another coach, and just listening to him tell stories about when he spoke with this player or spoke with that player or spoke with this coach and spoke with that coach. And that's when he heard him tell the story of when Michael Jordan was coming out, and he talked about how Portland was saying, you know, we really need a center. And he goes, "Well, Jeff, Michael Jordan." He says, "But now we need a center." He says, "Then Michael Jordan can play center for you." And it was this firm belief in what type of player Michael Jordan was. Even though Michael was on the radar, he wasn't on the radar like that. No matter how we might try to go back and rewrite history, everyone knew he was going to be a great player. Everyone felt he was going to be a great player, but the radar, being the central piece of the screen, wasn't being talked about by a lot of people yet. It's starting to come out now, the few people who really were on his side with the different documentaries and things like that. But Bobby Knight was certainly one of the coaches that I've heard, not only from him telling the story, but other people talking to Bobby Knight about Michael Jordan, because that was always the question when I was kind of coming up, and what he meant to basketball. And so he was definitely one of the early voices that talked about Jordan. So all those things you can look up. I'm sure not the stuff about Maestro, because whatever. But all the other stuff is stats and numbers you can look up. But I want to talk about a couple other things. People don't talk about the fact that he was on a Ohio State basketball team that I believe went to the championship game 3 times, and I think they won one. I think they won his freshman or sophomore year or something like that. He played baseball and he played football. That was why that first conversation was kind of funny that we had because I kind of knew his history. But the other thing, he was a coach at Army when Bill Parcells was assistant coach on the football team. Can you imagine those two guys lined up? And Bill Parcells was actually on track to become the Army head coach before he left for Florida State, I believe. I know it's a basketball pod. I should be talking football. They were actually at Army at the same time, and how much the history of that academy could have changed before things, the service academies can't participate in NIL and things like that. And I'm kind of glad because being a Navy guy, I just, no, all due respect, I don't want to see Army get ahead. Don't tell my dad I said that. But Bobby Knight was the last coach to consistently bring Army to conference championships. And he won everywhere he went. So here are two things that I think you might find interesting about Bobby Knight. Hopefully you find interesting about Bobby Knight. Back when he played in the era that would birth the modern guard era. He played at a time when the other guards that were tops in the league were John Havlicek. This is in college. John Havlicek, Jerry Lucas. And if you don't know who Jerry Lucas is and you're a guard, shame on you. Go look him up right now. Oscar Robinson, Lenny Wilkins, and Jerry West. And those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head in terms of players who he played in college against, and in one case with. That era of guard center basketball explains a lot about how he approached building teams as he became a coach and as he moved forward. And that's something that's often overlooked. Yes, they talk about the fact that he was the first coach to win national championship, NIT championship, and which was the original national championship, by the way, little history lesson, and Olympic gold medal. He was one of the first 3 coaches or one of the first 2 coaches or something like that. Please look that up for me. But the fact that he was on a national championship team back when Ohio State was one of the gold standards for college basketball right before UCLA took over. The other thing about Bobby Knight, when you look up the players who played for him, all the things that he has done on the college basketball floor, he only had one Hall of Famer, Isaiah Thomas. That's it. The only player that he has coached from college that has transcended the ranks into pro basketball, into the Naismith Hall of Fame, was a guard. That should not be a surprise knowing his history. I appreciate you listening to this. Hopefully it gave you something to think about, maybe even something to smile about. Take a look up of Bobby Knight, kind of absorb some of your history. Yes, you're going to see a lot of other stuff too. That's what it is. But look at a person who is key and responsible for giving us the league and leagues we have now in terms of shaping the history of the sport that we love so much. Thank you for listening. And as always, any feedback is welcome. I'll let your boy. Everybody be safe. Talk to you soon.
Oh, wait, you want me to read?
Thank you for listening to the Maestro.
Thank you again for checking out the Maestro's Dirty.
Shorts.
Drop a tag below and give us a piece of your mind. See you next time and
Is it last call? Have you seen my glasses?
The Maestro. Dirty.
Shorts.